Well, my name is Amanda, and I am a compulsive overeater, and I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the gray sheet. I text those into my sponsor. I don't eat in between meals no matter what, and abstinence is absolutely the most important thing in my life today. Um, gosh, you know, I want to do it like what I was like before what happened and what I'm like now. That's actually kind of how it is written in the big book. What um so what I was like was completely selfish and self-centered. And I'm not saying that I'm not today, but to the extent that I was, um, in that I couldn't see the effect I was having on others. And this started as a child. I remember one time we were out, a huge family event, like 20, 25 people and kids, and we were at at the end of the kids, and they brought out the thing that you eat afterwards, and everyone exclaimed how great it was, as did I. And then someone jokingly said, because we were supposed to have been so very full because of all the food that we had been eating, who wants seconds? And I jumped up and said, I do. And I was already a chubby kid, and I just embarrassed my mother to death by doing that. And I didn't think, hey, here are these people. And I know I was a kid, but still just get, I didn't think that we were full and that's when you stop. Because that's a thought that really never occurred to me, is that when I'm full to stop. And it didn't occur to me because it couldn't, because I was eating nothing but sugars, grains, and starches, pretty much. And what happens when I eat a sugar, grain, or starch is that it's like alcohol in my system. I'm also an alcoholic, and I'm an alcoholic with the food. I take a bite of that, or 2 bites. I don't know how many bites, but let's just say 1 bite of that, because that's what I think it is. Um, it shoots off a message to my brain after, while digesting. It shoots off some message to my brain that says more. And I can't say no to this intense craving that's coming through in my head, that I have to have more. And so I will go to any length to get more, including embarrassing myself to try to get a second, thing. And I think that for me, it started as far back as I can remember. Um, like I said, I was always a chubby child, but I was always eating, and I was born a chubby child. I never really lost it until I hit puberty, and then I lost my weight. But to keep the weight off, I became bulimic and anorexic. And after it came off, and I stopped eating, and then when I did eat, I didn't hold it down. So that worked for a while until it didn't. And so it it played out in my life, some in my adulthood, but not to the extent that it could have. And for that, I'm very grateful. I I remember being an adult, I was obese. The one time as an adult, I was thin. I was a little bit heavier than I am now, about 10 pounds heavier than I am now when I was 20. And it lasted for about 5 minutes, but it cut out most sugars, grains, and starches. If I ate a certain way, I got a starch, but usually I didn't get the starch. And when I did get the starch, I would overeat on that particular starch. And again, no knowledge of what's going on in my head at all. And no knowledge that the reason why I couldn't stay on that diet was because I have a a mental obsession, and I call it a voice because it makes it more real to me when I call that mental obsession a voice. So I have a voice that will tell me this time it's going to be okay. This time it won't count. We'll start that diet tomorrow. No one's going to know. I mean, a million lies. And I grew up, I didn't have the best childhood. I had a lot of traumatic things happen to me. And yes, I believe that exacerbated the disease, but I don't believe that it caused the disease. I believe I was born, I don't know, a genetic mutant. I have no idea how that works, but I believe I was born a compulsive overeater or with the propensity to become a compulsive overeater. And that's just my theory, you know. So when I was 30, I was living in Chicago. I'm from Dallas originally, and I was living in Chicago. And it was it was the 2000s when everybody was getting a gastric bypass. I worked for a hospital, and they put in a whole wing for it, and a whole department. And so I went over there skipping, knowing that at 300 pounds they were going to give me gastric bypass, and they refused. And I don't know why they refused. And I tell you what, I wish I'd left it alone, but I did not. They told me to do certain things, and I did certain things, and then other people who had gotten it told me to say certain things, and so I said those things, and indeed I did get gastric bypass, the full one, not the sleeve, the full on where they build you a new tummy. And it was good at first. I'm not going to lie to you. It was great at first. And then I couldn't stay on the diet because I have a mental obsession and a physical allergy, right? So to
That's
stay on,
7 minutes.
thanks. So to stay on that diet is crazy. So I lost 100 pounds, and then I gained 100 of those pounds back and 50 more after I stopped um, doing what they told me to do. So gastric bypass didn't work. And so 5 years later, I had gastric bypass revision, where they take out your stomach and completely and make you a new one, another new one. So basically, I've had 3 stomachs in my life. Isn't that a joy? Um, and that didn't work either. I got down to 275, and I stayed there until I did a diet where I did not eat sugars, grains, or starches. And again, this would be a beautiful thing. And you think, well, why didn't that work? And if it worked, why don't you do it now? Well, I'll tell you why I don't do it now. It's because I started getting those thoughts, the voice, the mental obsession telling me, hey, you know what? Everybody else is having a cheat day. I bet you can have a cheat day. Hey, I bet one bite of that won't hurt you. There's not that many carbs in that. How about that? And the minute I get that stuff in my body, I'm off to the races. I am just off to the races. So that didn't last. So I gained up to 275, and I was at the point where I was just going to be fat serene, like this is the way I am. This is how it is. I'm always going to binge 4 or 5 times a day. I'm always going to break toilets when I sit on them. I am always going to have trouble getting clean. I am always going to have trouble with my thighs getting rashes. I'm always going to have trouble making sure I've got enough food in the house so that I can binge later. And somebody introduced me to Gray Sheet, and here I am. I'm 130 pounds lighter. I think if I do the math right, I weigh 140, so I think that's the right math. 275, 100. I don't know. Anyway, you guys can figure it out. And I'm happier than I've ever been. And it's not because I'm 100 and how many ever pounds lighter. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. And don't get me wrong, it is great being able to sit here talk on here in a Indian style and be comfortable. That's awesome. But what is awesome is that for the first time in my life, I have boundaries. For the first time in my life, I stand up for myself. I had, I was dating someone. They didn't like the idea of me weighing and measuring in a restaurant. And so I broke up with them because, you love me, you love my scale. Um, and I will do that with anyone. If you go out to dinner with me, I used to at first go, oh, by the way, I weigh and measure. I don't anymore. We go out to eat, I pull out my scale. If you don't like it, you can get up because that's my scale. Um, and it's saving my life 3 times a day, and we will give it the respect it deserves. Um, And I just realized today that I am really proud of the way I eat. Like I eat these things that look like something else, but they're totally not. And I thought, oh my gosh, what if people think I'm eating this stuff instead of this stuff? And I thought, oh my gosh, you're proud of how you eat. And I am proud of how I eat because we eat healthy, we eat luscious, we eat wonderful, beautiful foods that are amazing. And yeah, I'm proud of that. I never ate like that before in my life. I just ate what I could put in my mouth. I've had a lot of no matter what's these past 4 years. Oh, by the way, yeah, um, it's July 31st of 2021. Just forgot my year. And I've had a lot of no matter what's. My dad had a stroke. I had to move. My dad is in great shape, but we live together, and that's something very different for me. And it's actually really great, though. I love it. Um, and just I had a car trouble. Just like all these things, little things, bigger things, and it doesn't matter. I never ate over it. And I didn't because of, and this is the key to the whole thing, is because of my higher power. We have a great gray sheet and I love my scale, but without HP, I would not be able to do this and I would not be sitting here talking to you. So I owe it all to him. And you know what? That's all I've got in me. I'm just going to drop it at that. Thank you very much.